blessed light of all love, exquisite perfection and innocence of all creation. Accepting in this moment that nothing else is true. Accepting the willingness within to accept the innocence and beauty that is waiting to be discovered within, to meet the divine that you truly are. The willingness to uncover this divine innocence, divine light that is always everything that you have been for all of eternity. Nothing else has existed. Nothing else has ever been true. In the truth of the light, there is no way for what has been a concept of separation to understand the holiness and the truth of light. There is an acceptance, a yes within that follows and steps into faith, steps into trust, that every teaching that every master has offered is true. In the relinquishment of battle, there is a relinquishment of trying to hold on to what's been made up as identity, while all of love is calling you to let go and to accept that there is only love. In this moment, to accept the light that is within, just for this moment, can heal lifetimes of false identity. The willingness to accept that only love is true. And in this moment, the willingness to surrender the day, surrender this week, surrender this lifetime into the truth of love. The willingness to let go of all perceptions of what has been conjured up as identity in this day. The willingness to surrender and come back to peace. And in this moment, the willingness to surrender the future. Everything that you perceive about the future. Everything that is made up about the future. All based on the past. Surrendering it all into the hands of God. Into the arms of love. Into the light. And breathing fully and deeply, the willingness to serve humanity through the truth of love. The willingness to no longer bring any false identity to anyone or anything, but the willingness to open the heart and invite humanity in as the oneness, the one heart. And breathing fully and deeply, finding the willingness of the heart to breathe into every cell, every molecule, and surrender every cell and every molecule into the hands of God, returning everything into the light of love, to its natural state. Breathing into the throat, inviting the throat to open. Breathing deeply and fully as you have maybe forgotten to breathe today with consciousness. Breathing with full intention of breathing in the light. And as the out-breath releases all beliefs of limitation. Breathing, allowing. In this moment, breathing into the spine, surrendering the spine into the hands of God to be used for love, not wanting to keep anything in separation, letting the spine be filled with the liquid of love in deep surrender and service of love itself. Breathing. Breathing into the arms, the shoulders and hands, all surrendered into the hands of God. Surrendering all movement, everything into love. Wanting to be the instrument of love. Breathing. Breathing into the heart. Inviting the heart to come forward, open and available for love. Imagining that there is a magnet in front of the heart and letting that magnet of love pull the heart open and forward, nothing held back. Letting the love of the heart lead the way. And breathing. Breathing into the belly, surrendering all the organs into the hands of God. Everything surrendered. Surrendering all the blood system into the hands of God and the nervous system, all the muscles, all the tendons, all the ligaments, everything surrendered into the hands of God to be used by love. And affirming that there is nothing to keep in separation, nothing wanted to be kept in separation. Everything surrendered. Surrendering the hips and thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and feet, all surrendered into love, the truth of love. And breathing, allowing. And now surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. No longer willing to have the emotional body run by the mind and fear. No longer willing to have concern and doubt and suspicions and anger and all the elements of fear being expressed through the emotional body. No longer willing to have the mind of fear run the emotional body, but surrendering the emotional body into the hands of God. Willing only for the expression of joy and peace and harmony, compassion and love to be expressed. Everything of love, everything of truth, everything of light. Only love. And continuing to breathe and affirming that here in the infinite circle of love we are one. One heart and one breath in complete devotion to humanity's awakening. A yes to love. And affirming in this moment that in this infinite circle of love there are no differences, there is no separation, there is no limitation, and all the body edges fall away, and the light emerges and finds its divine union. And affirming that here there is only love. The sanctuary is filled with love. This universe is all of love. Nothing else exists. There is only one presence here. It is the life force of God, and within this life force we live and move and breathe as one. To accept the life force of God is to accept the truth of holy union with all beloveds. All perceptions of needs, all perceptions of aloneness fall away in the truth of oneness. The yes to love. Breathing, allowing. So allowing this prayer to permeate into your heart, allowing it to become your prayer of what you truly want, allowing your prayer to be ignited, filled with the passion of your yes, the passion of truly wanting to remember the truth of oneness and to come home. And the affirming that all divine beings are serving this intention and allowing all divine beings to serve your remembering. Allowing the vibration of this love to break through any barriers of resistance. I am Mary of Conception. I am seeking to open your heart, offering my love and guidance as your suffering world comes apart. Bring your pain like a flower to open. Bring your sorrow to place at my feet. Tears that are watering my garden in the river of Jordan will meet. Oh, my children, I seek your surrender. Both the path and the message are clear. My Saint John is walking beside you, holding your hand through this fear. Keep your strength as you seek to be humble. Let the power that guides you reveal all the blessings of my holy rapture, confirming you know what is real. This divine light that is recognized as the Divine Mother is never lacking in the offering of love, is never lacking in the guidance that will lead you to remembering the truth of love. In this moment, the call is, I am seeking to open your heart as your suffering world comes apart. Let the suffering that you have believed in so strongly, let it fall apart. Let it crumble. Let it break into a million pieces, be shattered, and melt away. Leap into the yes in what you truly want, the willingness to open your heart and let all of the belief of limitation fall away. Bring your pain like a flower to open, bring your sorrow to place at my feet. Let the pain open like a flower. Let it reveal itself so that the illumination of light can let it disintegrate. Invite the illumination of light into your heart and the willingness to see all of the belief of resistance, all the belief of limitation, all the belief of defense against the truth of love. Willing to expose everything that's been made up and surrender it. Your surrender is sought by love. It is just your willingness to surrender it that's waiting. Love waits patiently for you to let go. Keep your strength as you seek to be humble, the strength of humility, the strength, the power of love. There is no strength in what you've made up in separation, only weakness, and the willingness to step into true strength and enveloped your heart. Let your heart be wrapped up in the truth of love. I have cried a lot and have regretted and lamented about all that has already passed. Every time my mind goes to what I think I know, I am lamenting about the past. I'm now going to leave everything that I have been yearning for, and I'm going to go live among the flowers. I'm going to go and live among the flowers with my Blessed Mother. All the fears that have appeared in my consciousness have been a great rebellion that have said no to God. I'm no longer willing to rebel. I surrender what I think I know. I surrender my every movement into the hands of God. Show me the way. What would you have me eat? What would you have me drink? When? How would you have me walk? Where would you have me walk? Show me the way. Let's all, beloveds, sing with love, with the Blessed Mother dispelling all of these fears. I'm the child of the Blessed Mother. I'm here to recognize this divine power. I call the force of love to come and open my heart. I stand wanting to be led. Choro muito e lamento tudo que já se passou. Deixo tudo doçamente, vou viver no meio das flores. Vou viver no meio das flores, junto com a Virgem Maria. Os terrores que aparecem, essa grande rebeldia. Vamos todos, meus irmãos, vamos todos, oh amor, para Deus e a Virgem Mãe nos defender desses terrores. Sou filho da Virgem Mãe, reconhece este poder. Chama a força, ele chama a força para vir nos defender. Every beloved has cried a lot and has regretted the past. This is nothing new. This is the life of the ego. This is the life of the false self. But the willingness to surrender all that you thought you knew about the past is the willingness to leave everything that has been yearned for in this illusion of limitation, and to say, yes, I'm going to live among the flowers with all of love. I'm not going to choose anything else anymore. And the affirming that the fears that have appeared in this life have all been a no to God. They've all been a defense that has said, no, I know, instead of, I refuse to say no any longer to the truth of God. I refuse any longer to limit myself in any way with my past, with my knowing, and the willingness to embrace the truth of love, the yes, no longer willing to say no. Let's all, beloved, sing with love as the Blessed Mother dispels all of these erroneous fears, no longer willing to live in a world of illusion. I'm the child of the Blessed Mother, and I have in this moment the opportunity to recognize the true power of love. And I call that force of love, I call the power of love to heal everything that's been made up. I willingly surrender. So, again, our beloved Hafiz comes to visit, even though he's always here, as all beloved beings are always here. Someone untied your camel. I cannot sit still with humanity in chains. I cannot act mute, hearing the world's loneliness crying near the beloved's heart. My love for God is such that I could dance with him tonight without you, but I would rather have you there. Is your caravan lost? It is, if you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and most common object. My dear, is your caravan lost? It is, if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with the sometimes difficult task of loving you. At least come to know that someone untied your camel last night, for I hear its gentle voice calling for God in the desert. At least come to know that Hafiz will always hold a lantern with galaxies blooming inside, and that I will always guide your soul to the divine warmth and exhilaration of our beloved's tent. Someone untied your camel. This can be you. This can and is you in the awareness of love. That you cannot sit still with humanity in chains. That you cannot offer more chains of illusion to anyone. That you are willing to close your ears to the cry for help of humanity that is wanting and asking you to remember the truth of love. Everyone that has believed in having an enemy, and an enemy is anyone that you have the slightest irritation with. An enemy is someone that you feel pity for. An enemy is someone that you have sadness about, that they aren't different, that they aren't according to your liking. These are all enemies. They don't show up as enemies in the belief system of the ego. They show up as irritation. Or they show up as someone to be pitied because you think you know something about them and you're not seeing the divine truth of them. I cannot sit still with humanity in chains. I cannot act mute hearing the world's loneliness crying for the beloved's heart. How can you answer? How can you answer this call of the beloved's heart? By offering your own heart in truth. Every day is this divine opportunity. Every moment is the opportunity of offering love. Not what you think of as love, but allowing the beauty and the perfection of God's energy to come through you and to be expressed and offered to every beloved. Where you're no longer wanting the mind to be making up a story about someone or anything, and then acting accordingly from the past to fill in the gaps. The willingness to open your heart to every beloved, to be undefended, open, available, without looking for anything in return. Not letting the mind go into, if I do this, they're going to do this for me. They're going to satisfy my needs. They're going to fulfill my fantasies of what I think they should do for me. Fill my worth. Anything. I'm not looking for anything except to offer love. That is the heart's calling. My love for God is such that I could dance with Him tonight without you, but I would rather have you there. Is your caravan lost? Are you checking to see where your caravan is? Is it lost? Are you lost in your thoughts of what you think you know? Or is your caravan pointed in the direction of the oasis of the truth of love? This is the choice in every moment. Where am I pointing? What direction am I bringing myself to in every moment? It is always the choice. No one can make this choice except you. There's no magic. There's no rescue. It's all choice. Moment to moment, what am I focusing on? Where is my attention? What do I truly want? Is your caravan lost? Asking yourself the question, is my caravan lost? Where am I? Am I in love? Is your caravan lost? It is. If you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object. Are you seeing God in everything and in everyone? The most simple act of kindness, the most simple act of offering love, does it make you weep? Are you filled with happiness? Are you filled with gratitude? Where are you? Where is your caravan? The way of gratitude is the way of love. To be filled with gratitude as you walk in the world is to open your heart and let go of what you think you know. Gratitude and your mind cannot coexist. If your heart is filled with gratitude, you can't be in your own mind of thoughts of what you think you know. You're filled. You're filled. And that gratitude leads you to opening your heart. because you're recognizing all the gifts that you are offered to bring you to your remembering. Are you filled with gratitude for everyone that you know? Everyone that has entered your life, are you filled with gratitude for them? Or are you thinking about how they should be different in order to satisfy your personal identity and judgment? This is where all the pain is coming from. I want you as I want you. I want you as I think you should be for me. To satisfy the ego identity, there's no love there. There's no love there. And there's no opportunity to deepen love. All that it does is affirm pain and suffering. And that you're right. Because everyone will betray you in that belief that you're supposed to get something from somebody else, or they should be the way you want them to be, instead of opening your heart and wanting to see the divine blessing of every beloved, not for what they do, but because they are the divine truth of God, because they are the innocence of God and nothing else is true. Can you know this with your mind? Absolutely not. Because the mind that made up separation cannot understand the open heart, cannot perceive the divine innocence of every beloved. The mind is filled with images and concepts and ideas about the past. Every time you look at a beloved and you are not looking with your heart, you are seeing through your past. Every time, doesn't matter who the beloved is, you are seeing through your past. And you are comparing that beloved in that moment with someone that you have known in the past. You have nothing else to glean from. The mind is saying, oh, they're just like blah, 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 fill in the blank. She reminds me of someone that was threatening me. I haven't forgiven either. It's all made up. Do you want to see the beloved? When you look in the mirror, do you want to see the beloved? Do you want to see the beauty that is the truth of everyone? Or is your mind filled with what you think you know? Every moment, this is the call. My dear, is your caravan lost? It is, if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with this sometimes difficult task of loving you. Why is it difficult for others to be with you? That may or may not be your experience. Doesn't matter. Are you bringing loving kindness and truth to every relationship? Everyone. Do you give yourself permission that your way means something? The way you do things, the way you think, the way you believe in, that it means something. It's letting everything go. In the beautiful teaching, I would rather be happy than right, is the call to love. There is no happiness, there is no joy, there is no peace in being right. Never will be, never has been. Cannot be. Because the idea of being right is completely fabricated out of a false identity. The willingness to surrender. At least come to know that someone untied your camel last night, for I hear its gentle voice calling for God in the desert. At least come to know that Hafiz will always hold a lantern with galaxies blooming inside, and that I will always guide your soul to the divine warmth and exhilaration of our beloved's tent. Every master right now calling you right now to come into the beloved's tent. These words are calling you into the beloved's tent, to let go of what you think you know and come rest in the beloved's tent of love, where there are no enemies, and there are no battles, and there are no difficulties, and there is no fear, only love. Nothing else is true. The willingness to accept that someone untied your camel and is looking for God. The camel is looking for God. The camel is calling to God. Are you? Is your teacher the camel? Absolutely. If the camel is calling to God, learn from the camel. The camel is understanding that the peace is only going to come in finding God, nothing else. And how can you find this beauty, this perfection? The place that the ego has never known. Maybe you think it's a hotel. Maybe you think it's a particular destination place. The place that the ego has never known is the stillness. Never known that place. The ego is filled with chatter, filled with thoughts after thoughts after thoughts after thoughts. Have you ever asked to still the thoughts and not believe in them anymore? To come into that place of stillness where you can hear the voice of love. In the stillness, all things quietly fall into place when you no longer are willing to believe your thoughts. You can fill your mind with the truth of God. You can surrender your mind into the hands of God. But in that, it's still, even with the mind filled with thoughts of God, it is still in stillness. It's a very quiet place. Because the thoughts of the ego all have meaning. This is one of your awareness points. The thoughts of God, the truth of the light, the truth of oneness, has no meaning. If you repeat a mantra, in that repetition of that mantra, that thought of God, there's a stillness that holds it. And in that repetition of that mantra or that prayer, there's no meaning that's given to it by the mind. Now, if your mind is doing both at the same time, repeating a mantra, and then the mind is racing on going, oh yes, and this means this, and this means this, and when I say this, it means this, and that's all made up. That's all completely fabricated. It has no offering, no truth in it at all. Why bother giving it your validity when it really means nothing? In the stillness, all things become quiet. Imagine. Imagine being right here in this moment, in this quietness, and not having any thoughts to confuse and fill the space. What if everybody's mind was exposed right now? And there was a loudspeaker connected to your mind. How helpful would those thoughts be? There's a beautiful teaching that says, with sincerity, ask, what thoughts are you thinking that God would not think? What thoughts have worth? What thoughts are you thinking that God would speak, that God would think? Are you checking your mind for the intention of its purpose? What is it for? Because the key here is, and this is the connect the dots. You know those games where you connect the dots and you make pictures out of them? Follow the numbers? This is the connect the dots. Every single element of pain or suffering is coming from your own mind. It can't come from anywhere else. It is not coming from outside. It is coming from your own mind. Now, this is the great unveiling. Because if it's coming from your own mind, you have a choice. If you believe it's coming from outside, you are a victim. Believing that something's happening to you from outside. Someone is disturbing your peace. Some situation is disturbing your peace. Some situation is causing you to have a reaction. Your reaction is coming from your own mind. And so then let's say it even more clearly. The disturbance that you are experiencing, whatever it is, whether it's sadness, whether it's anxiety, whether it's upset, whether it's irritation, whether it's anger, whether it's pleasure, whether it's appeasement, whether it's caution, it doesn't matter how it presents itself, it's all fear, and it's all coming from your own mind. No place else. What is so wonderful about this? The ego would ask, yeah, what's so wonderful about this? So what? Well, the big so what is, once you locate where the problem is coming from, you have a choice of what you want. You have complete choice. You have the power. You have the power of choosing only love, only peace, only harmony, only joy, nothing else. You can choose to not listen to what your mind is making up, and pretty soon it will disappear because you're not feeding it. You're not giving it value and worth. This is the exquisite blessing of the observer, the witness, that is watching these made-up, insane thoughts and not giving them any value. If your mind thinks it sees something outside, and it has an assessment of something that you believe is outside, and you assess it, you're making that up. You're making it up. If you see the divine in everything and everyone, then there's no meaning that has to be given to anything, because it's all divine equality. It's all the beauty of God. It has no meaning. I will always guide you to the divine warmth and exhilaration of our beloved's tent. And if you can no longer be kind to yourself and loving to those who must live with the sometimes difficult task of loving you, at least come to know that your camel is looking for God, even if you're not. If you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object, are you weeping when you look at something? Are you weeping because it's God? Or are you assessing its value according to your made-up story? That's the key. Everyone in humanity has believed that if you assess and you approve, you will be safer. You believe that that's where your safety comes from, by assessing and approving and giving meaning to everything, so that you believe that will keep you safer. But it never has. You have been assessing and giving meaning and giving identity ever since you opened your eyes and you said your first word. You have been assessing and giving meaning to everything. It has never brought you to a place of peace. It has never brought you to a place where you have felt safe. You have been able to glean from your life a provisional element of pleasure. That pleasure is always based on something giving you something from the outside. And it is always temporary. It never lasts, because it is not joy. It is not the light of God. It is wanting something from the outside so that it will get rid of the belief of pain that you're running from. You're running from pain, trying to get pleasure, trying to assess, trying to figure things out. That can be your pleasure, but it never brings you to peace. It can't, because it's made up. It cannot bring you to peace. And the only way to come to peace is to let your soul be guided to the divine warmth and exhilaration of our beloved's tent that is always present. Always present. Now, your mind will say, well, I don't know that it's always present, so I'm the assessor, I'm the decider, I'm the judge. Did anybody approve this for me? I'm needing to approve of this. I'm the one who makes up my world. And this is the call. This is the call to heal, is the willingness to surrender what you think you know and accept the truth of love and its guidance. Show me the way. I don't know. I'm a stranger here. I'm a stranger. I've made up a world that is also a stranger. I don't know the way. But all day long, you have these divine opportunities of remembering love. All day long. People show up. Beloveds come to your door. Beloveds pass you in the street. Situations come up. You work with different beloveds. And all the while, your mind is thinking that you need protection and that you know what you're doing. Instead of, here's the greatest gift you can give yourself. I don't know what anything means. I don't know how to look on anything. I don't know how to be with anything. Show me the way. I don't know. What stops anyone from that simple place of I don't know? Arrogance. But arrogance is fear. Arrogance is only fear. Disguised, it's a good disguise. Arrogance. I know what I'm doing. I know what the world means. It's arrogance. But underneath that arrogance is fear. I want to stay in control so that I'm feeling safe. But there's no safety there. Never has been. You've never found safety. And you will never find safety in what you think you know. It's not possible. And yet, in that letting go is all of love. And all of these divine teachings of love that are so available, all the masters that have brought all of these divine teachings and continue to offer. How can your heart accept the divine teachings of love? How can you step out of what you think you know? It's by surrendering. I don't know. Show me the way. One of the keys is the willingness to accept that you are not a temporary form. You are not your body. The body. The body will fall away. The body has no significance in and of itself except the significance that your ego gives it. But you are afraid of the body. You're afraid because it won't last. You're afraid because it betrays you. You're afraid because you want to control it and you can't. You try. And you placate the body constantly with any of its communication. Something that is forgotten about the body is that the body is communicating, and it isn't just physical. Your emotions, the emotional body, is communicating to you what you believe. When there is fear running in your emotional body, it is a communication, but you believe it as real. You believe that it has validity because you have decided it has intelligence. But it's coming from your own mind. It doesn't mean anything in and of itself. It's just energy. It's absolutely, completely fabricated. Why would you trust that energy rather than the truth of God? When that energy is telling you what your mind is making up. That's all. In the stillness, all things quietly fall into place. In love, all conflicts are resolved. The heart is quiet and the mind is at rest. I will not interfere with the truth of love. What does that mean? I won't interfere with the truth of love. How can you possibly interfere with the truth of love when the truth of love is all that exists? How can you interfere with it? You can interfere by believing in what your mind is making up. That's your interference with love. Every time you have a decision that you're making on your own, every time you have an idea of a concept of something, you're interfering with the truth of love. You haven't surrendered that into the hands of God. Show me the way. I don't know. Even something like that seems so basic. Hunger. What is hunger? It's the body's dictate. It is the mind saying, it's noon. I have to eat. I'm on a clock. Is this helpful for my healing? Is this helpful for my remembering? Have I surrendered all the food and all nourishment into the hands of God? Lead me, lead the way. I don't know. I don't know what is most helpful. What am I to drink? When am I called to drink? What is most helpful? I don't know. Show me the way. Because everything is a hook. Everything is a habit. And you believe that all habits are dictated by the mind. So when you begin to surrender into the hands of God, you're saying, show me, I don't know. And every beloved that has remembered the truth of God has walked that in surrender. It's not about depriving. It's about, show me the way to true nourishment. I don't know. I've made up a world of my own. I don't know how to be in this world. Show me the way. Show me the way. God's will for you is perfect happiness. So where is your perfect happiness? God's will for you is perfect happiness. Where is your perfect happiness? So far, it isn't in your mind. It isn't in your thoughts that you think you know. Where is it? It's in your heart. Your open heart that is unobstructed by the thoughts that you think you know about everything in your world. That's where your pain comes from. Where is your happiness? Your happiness is in the gratitude of love. Your happiness is in the weeping with gratitude, or weeping from being cut so deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and most common object. Where are you? This is where happiness is. There's another beautiful teaching of Hafiz that says, I no longer want to see or look on any object without seeing the divine. I refuse to look on any object without seeing the divine. Is that your prayer? Is that your intention? Today, this moment, are you looking on everything as the divine? What do you see? Do you see a person by their name, by their age, by their being male or female, by the clothing that they're wearing, the haircut that they have, the makeup that they have on, the way they look of any kind? Is that what you see? Or do you really want to see with your heart? Do you really want to see every beloved as the beauty, the extraordinary, exquisite beauty of God? Are you crying inside of happiness for the opportunity of seeing every beloved, or are you determined to be right and make up a story about each one? When you make up a story about another, you are held in those chains. You are held with them. You are saying, okay, I have a story for you. I have an identity for you. Yes, it's okay, I made it up, but trust me. Trust my identity that I'm giving you. I'm making this up, but I want you to be in chains with me. I want you to be and stay in limitation. There is an insanity of the ego. This is all insanity, but the insanity of the ego actually is hoping unconsciously that someone else has less than you do. You feel better if someone else has less. You feel more whole if someone else has less. This is not necessarily conscious, but this is what the ego does. That's what all judgment is about, because you're making up the less. When you're irritated with somebody, when you believe that someone is their story, you are affirming that they are less. What is their story for? Except as a camouflage to say, this is not the divine. All I see is their problems. I see their story. I can recite their whole story to you. That's a gift. It's a gift of insanity. It is a beautiful, thrilling moment when you can no longer remember anybody's name. Because then you can go past what you think you know about them. And you can remember the divine. The world doesn't agree with that. The world says, no, remember everybody's name and maybe make an index card for their identity with it. What you think you know about them, what you like, what you don't like, what you agree with, what you have perceived, what you have assessed. I talked about this a few weeks ago about the Rolodex. Rolodex is a name from the past. It's the same thing as your computer. But your Rolodex has all your information on it of everything that you know. Maybe even your schedules. Maybe even when I eat, when I don't eat. No, that's right, the body gives you that information instead of God. Who are you listening to? What is most helpful? When you are in the dictates of the mind and the body through the mind, you're always in fear. Because it's all fearful. It's all based on fear. There's only love and there's fear. There's nothing else. So love is the truth of oneness. Love is the power of God, the power of the universe, the innocence, the beauty, the perfection, the light, the sweetness, the song of love. Fear is everything else. Fear is every thought that you have, that you decide you think you know something, and you're willing to act on that knowing rather than, I could see peace instead of this. God's will for me is happiness. If God's will for you is happiness, God's will is perfect happiness for me, and I can suffer but from the belief that there is another way, that there's another will apart from the truth of love. Why would you want to have another will? But that's what everybody does have in the belief of separation. And you give it agreement. Every moment you have the opportunity to choose. Will I follow, or do I know what everything means? And it's connecting the dots. If I am believing in everything that I know, I am guaranteed suffering. It's guaranteed, because you don't know really anything else. Nobody does. Now the ego would say, oh yeah, well there are people in the world that have everything. Here's what else that they have. Everything of the world and the belief in death. And there is no one that does not believe in death because of the identity of the body. So there is a provisional getting that you believe will satisfy and will distract you from the fear of death. But you always come back to the same thing. The fear of losing a child, the fear of losing a friend, the fear of getting old, the fear of the body not cooperating, the fear of the world. Accidents, acts of God as they're called, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, disease, wars, poverty, starvation. This is not gloom and doom. This is just what everybody believes in. And everybody's scrambling to get away from those things by getting some pleasure to forget. But all of that can be let go, because none of that is the truth of God. You are not your body. You are the eternal light of God, complete, whole, and innocent. Eternal. You will never die. You will never die. But imagine if you accepted that you would never die and you hold on to your meaning of everything, and you have to take all that with you through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, because you will never die. You will maybe keep coming back in different costumes, and you'll keep repeating the same beliefs until you say no more. I don't want to look on anything, and I don't want to have meaning of anything. I just want to remember love. I surrender the world that I have made up into the hands of God, and I accept that heaven is here on earth. I want to step into the garden of love and no longer believe in limitation and separation. How is that possible? It's possible through your willingness, but it's also a choice that you have to constantly make, because you chose a world of separation. And when you made that world up, you said, this is what I choose. And now is the time of choosing again, of choosing the light, of choosing love, of choosing innocence, of choosing forgiveness. To choose forgiveness is to say, I forgive myself for this mistaken identity. And I forgive every mistaken identity that I've ever made. I forgive myself and let it wash away. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is the disowning of what you've made up, of your false identity, of your mistaken identity. There's no repercussions of it. It's just that when you're in your false identity, you suffer. You suffer and suffer. The peace of God is my one goal, the aim of all my living here, the end that I seek in my purpose, my function in my life. Is that your prayer every day? Is that your intention every day? Every moment? Every moment. The peace of God is my one goal. How can you again come to the peace of God? It's by recognizing that it is the aim of all your living here. Nothing has any meaning except to return to the awareness of one heart, of one life, of one love. There's no other purpose. What other purpose are you giving anything? It's the end I seek. Is it the end you seek? To remember the peace of God. Is that what your living is for? Or are you just biding time? Or are you just making do and trying to get by? Those are the choices. My purpose, my function, and my life. Is it your purpose? Is it your function? Is it your life? Only you can make that choice. It can't be made by anyone else. It can't be latching on to something else. It's about, this is what I choose. What am I seeing right now? Am I seeing the beloved? Am I looking in the mirror and seeing the beloved? Is every thought about peace and harmony and truth? Or is it filled with ideas? What you perceive in others, you are strengthening in yourself. What are you perceiving in others? A story? An identity? Or are you seeing the divine and strengthening that in yourself? Whatever you are perceiving in someone else, you are strengthening in yourself. When you are irritated with someone else, you are strengthening that belief of irritation and that self-hatred within yourself. When you are worried about someone else, you are strengthening that the belief in worry is accurate and true, and you are strengthening that in yourself. When you are wanting them to fulfill a need, a perceived need for you, you are strengthening the belief in yourself that you are without, and that they are without, and that they can betray you. That is what you're strengthening. And the list goes on and on and on. When you believe someone else has something that you don't have, you are strengthening the belief of scarcity in yourself. What do you see in someone else? Do you see something that's lacking? Do you believe their behavior? Do you believe their actions? Or are you willing to see the divine, the holiness? Do you believe that they can hurt you? That they can take something from you? That they have something that you don't have? Then you're perceiving that scarcity in yourself, that self-hatred in yourself. There are no thoughts that don't have conclusions in the world of what you are making in your own world. Every thought you have is a choice. Is this a thought of God? Am I experiencing peace? Am I experiencing harmony? Am I experiencing light and joy? If not, I am making something up. Period. Nothing else. Now, the ego can do a great game of pretending that it is offering love. No, I'm not upset with them. I just want you to get away from me. I'm hiding this irritation because I'm going to put on a smile on my face and say something that is not at all what I'm believing in. That's just another game. It's like the honesty, the true honesty of, is my mind filled with thoughts that God would think? Or am I making up things that have no relevance to the truth of God? Because all of those thoughts are the cause of my pain and my suffering. And I have a choice. I can choose to remember the truth. I can choose to ask to remember the truth. Show me the way. I don't know. I don't know. I want to remember the truth of love. Let me see the beauty that is here right now. Let me see the perfection that is here right now. I'm willing. I only want that. But you can't see the beauty. You can't see the perfection when your mind thinks it knows something else. And you're listening to your own mind. You're not available. You cannot serve two masters. You can't serve love and your own mind. You can't put your faith in both. You can only put your faith in one. It has to go in a particular direction. And that's your choice. Completely. Where does your nourishment come from? That is the question. Where do you believe your nourishment comes from? Do you believe your nourishment comes from your mind and what you're making and what you're deciding and what you decide is your conclusions of what nourishment is? Or are you surrendering into the hands of God and saying, I'm willing to be nourished with the truth of love, but show me the way. Your will for me is to be nourished. God's will is for every beloved to experience the nourishment of love. But how can you experience the nourishment of love when your mind is filled with what you think you know? And it's all about separation. It's all about differences and levels and degrees. And there's no love there. So when Hafiz says, my love for God is such that I could dance with him tonight, but I would rather have you there. Is your caravan lost? That's the question. Are you lost? And do you want to be found? Do you want to return into the peace and harmony and joy that you truly are? Because it's who you are. You're not getting something different. Everything that the mind is thinking of anything of separation is made up. It's not the truth of who you are. But you're giving yourself to a false identity that has no possibility of peace. If you no longer weep from gratitude or happiness, or weep from being cut deep with the awareness of the extraordinary beauty that emanates from the most simple act and common object, the most simple act, are you aware of all the beauty that is going on all the time? Are you seeing past what you think it means? Because everything that you think it means is coming from your past. It has no place else to come from. And if you want the future to be unlike the past, then you have to let go in the present. If you want the past to stay, the future to stay as the past, then you stay in the past now. And you're guaranteed the past will unfold as your future. But there's no peace there. There's no harmony. There's no love there. There's no oneness there. Not in your awareness. It's there. That's all that really exists, but you're in another world. You're in a world that you're making up. And now is the time to let go of all of that false identity and truly want to remember. I will not interfere with the truth of love. So here is, it is only because you think that you can run some little part or deal with certain aspects of your life alone that the guidance of the Holy Spirit is limited. The guidance of love cannot interfere with what you think you're running, what you think you know. And I promise you, when you surrender your life into the hands of love and you are willing to be guided, there is such freedom. It's like being on vacation all the time, because there's no worries, there's no concerns, there's no battle. Because there's nothing to figure out. There's nothing to have to take care of on your own, figuring things out. When you experience yourself as alone. This is not the same thing as solitude. Solitude is actually oneness. To recognize there's only one. And it's a place of peace. But the belief of aloneness is trying to, it can bring you to your attention, bring to your attention that you're believing in something that's completely made up. Your belief of aloneness is your belief in separation. Your belief that you are without. That you separated from God and that it's true and your body proves it. And you believe your mind proves it. Because you believe you have separate thoughts. But you have no separate thoughts. What you're making up is also in agreement. You're hooking into everybody else's pain and suffering with every thought that you have of pain and suffering. You're in agreement. But you have choice. You have this divine choice of I am willing to see peace instead of what I think I see. I am willing to experience peace instead of what I think I experience. I'm willing to let go and say yes to peace and harmony and joy because it is my natural state. Because it is the truth of God. Because it is the truth of harmony, and nothing else really exists, and I don't want to choose anything else anymore. I say yes. And how I say yes is by devoting every day, every moment to that intention. I stay focused on my intention. I stay focused on what I truly want. I stay focused on the truth. And if I have to have medicine of the truth every other minute, I'm willing. I'm willing to drown myself in the truth until I can't live without it anymore. I'm willing to take in the truth intravenously. I'm willing to have an IV running of the truth all the time until I can't remember anything else but the truth of love. I'm willing to be indoctrinated into the truth so that I can let go of what I think I know. I'm willing to remember. I want to remember. It's all that I want. That can be your prayer. Feel the power of that prayer and recognize you have the choice of that prayer. All the time. You have that choice. You are not a victim. You are not helpless. You are not weak. You are weak when you believe in your own mind. You are helpless when you believe in your own mind because there's nothing of strength there. Because the truth isn't allowed. But that's a choice that you can make. That's a choice of your yes. This is what I want, and this is what I focus on, and this is what I am dedicated to. To serve humanity, to serve all of love, to bring love to every beloved, to open the heart and be undefended and willing just to serve love and see the beauty and the perfection in every beloved. All in equality. No one more special, no one having more special attributes or contributions or anything else. Everyone in this divine union in love as one. That is the choice. Constantly. Constantly. The yes to love. If anyone has a question, allow your heart to speak. So the question becomes, what do you want? What do you truly want? And finding that gratitude and that the power of your yes within you, of what it is that you truly want. Not a rescue, not magic, but I want to remember. I want to devote my life to that remembering. I want to recognize peace and joy and love as my natural state. I want to open my heart and remember. I want to be undefended. I want to stop making up a separate life. And I want to find the dedication that is my choice. That's what I want. And in that choice, all of heaven joins you, because all of love is wanting to serve that same remembering, because love is just waiting patiently for you to remember. Being tired of wandering around in the desert, sucking on sand, instead of the nourishment of love. That's the choice. So in this moment, affirming and confirming that only love is worth your attention. Only love, only peace, only harmony is worth time. Only love exists. The heart says yes.